Alright guys, video 7, we've been through the sales cycle. You saw Shopify and its glory, putting orders in here. Now we need to talk about some of the purchasing. But before we do, let's go through back to the Outlook extension. And I'd said I'd show you that. I've dropped an email over here from a customer. So this is a customer email. And so by default, Business Central loads here on the side, and it can show me the account. I can see previous transactions and invoices and shipments. So I can just click that and get access to that straight out of Outlook. I don't even need to be logged into BC. So that's pretty cool. Now this says, can you get me the following ASAP? I can go straight to it and say sales quote. And it's going to pull up the items, trying to do text matches and say the quantity that he wanted is that, hit OK. And we have ourselves, if I pop this out, this will be a document ready to go. Here is a sales quote with the quantities, with the pricing, everything there done straight out of your email. So if it comes down to salespeople receiving emails, wanting to process them straight into BC, this is actually quite a funky tool. Now, the other here is from a supplier and the vendor, and so straight away the vendor account of shirt code just loaded. Same principle, okay, same automation. If I go to a new document, it's going to read the email, any content, and look at parsing it to understand what it is that's going on. And this is separate from the sales order agent and the purchase agent. All right, so we already said before that we'd bought and sold items, and we have a bunch of different inventory here. Now, what I hadn't told you is that I went and created what's called stock keeping units. So what is a stock keeping unit? Now, we talked about having multiple locations, and so every location has the chances, if you've got one or more locations, to have different preferences for stock reordering, minimum maximums, what are the reorder points, reorder quantities and stuff like that, and what are the vendor preferences. And so how does that work? If I go into my items, I go into my shirt, here's my red shirt, I'm going to go related warehouse stock keeping units. And here you can see I have a preference that says for my main warehouse we purchase, for my second warehouse we transfer. And so now there's a rule that's set that looks like an item card, but none of the settings are editable. I'm just going to make this full screen. And as I scroll down, the unit cost can be specific per site. The replenishment settings can be specific per site with purchase, produce, transfer, or assemble. And the reorder configuration, I've set here fixed reorder quantity of when I get down to 5 units, trigger and go reorder 20 more units. So one way to see your stock keeping units is just to search stock, and here they are. And so I've created all of these in the system right now to give us reorder points. This one, for some reason, yeah, so they're all there. Now what it means, because we now have that for our location, I can go into what's referred to as a planning worksheet. And to reorder, all we have to do is use the calculate the plan. Now, there are videos on this. I'm not going to go too far into detail other than it's got your master production schedule, potato, and it's got your master requisition plan, so your MRP. And as we go down this, it takes a few things into consideration. You've got your date range, you've got your location filter, and you've got your item filter. So you could filter for certain item codes and include it in a filter. And then you've also got what we refer to as a demand forecast or a sales forecast to help us know what we need to be ordering in bulk for this particular order. So I'm going to hit OK. And as it runs, it's going to run off, and it's going to tell us, here's some stock that we are currently low on, right? And this one here, original quantity, what do I need to order? It's going to tell me the projected inventory is higher than the overflow level. That's cool. On the first one, it's saying the minimum level, current stock is 0, the reorder point is 5, we need to order 20 units. So it's telling me what it needs to do. And then we can turn around from that. It's all got a supplier. It's got the same vendor. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go home, carry out action message, make purchase orders. And there we have it. We just got ourselves a purchase order. So I can go into my purchase orders, and here are my orders that have been raised, number 4. And as we go down into it, I can see the items that were specific for this, and then the other order. And it was split due to a different demand requirement. So either way, same supplier. We're going to open the second and we'll run with that. I'm going to hit release, which is the standardized approach. And to bring in stock is the opposite of selling. So we're going to actually hit receive, create a warehouse receipt. This gives us the ability to bring it into stock, and we're going to, if you receive 19, you would say it here, or 20, or whatever it is. You edit the stock that's coming in. I like to track the consignment number that was brought in. I actually like the guys receiving on these portable devices. These are fantastic because they can take photographs of the paperwork and it loads the photos as evidence back into the PO, okay? And they can receive live on the device and they don't even touch Business Central. So it's like using a phone to complete process, and it speeds everything up. So we're going to receive, and now the stock is now received just like that. Now, a couple of things to note here. If I scroll over on the line, you can see the quantity received, quantity to invoice is 20, and it's expecting an invoice number. We would load the attachment of the invoice, would load the invoice number, and when we're comfortable with the amount is confirmed, and it may also have, for example, an item charge. So let's go charge item. I need to reopen this. So let's reopen it, that's fine. And let's say the invoice came through with a freight on it. I'm gonna set freight and handling as an item charge, and this is one of $100. Now, this little baby is all about landed cost and adjusting the cost of items. So this line of a charge item, we need to actually go and do the item charge assignment. And as we click it, it's going to load my items in the screen, and I've got to suggest the distribution by equal amount, weight or volume. There is videos on this for you in our tutorials that you can look at with our purchasing series. But now that's there, it's going to split that $100 across each of the 40 items. And we can now post that invoice, post, invoice and receive. And so that's now taken care of. And we've got an invoice in the system to pay. This other shirt is here, good to go. We're going to receive it, autofill, received. And we're going to do that bill. So invoice, and again, how did it ship, what it came in on, and I'm just going to post that, receive and invoice, and off we go. All right, so receiving, and we haven't had to make many changes on the system, like out of the box. What we've demonstrated for you is there. So these purchase invoices, you could come in as purchase quote or an RFQ, which is purchase quote, move to an order, then turn around an invoice. You do have your blank orders and blank sales orders, but it's pretty functional out of the box already. Now our vendor has banking details already loaded against it. We have a balance of invoices that we need to pay this vendor. If we scroll down, we can see that we've said we're going to pay them by EFT, and against their vendor bank account, they've got a dummy bank account here that I've just made up. We just made up these figures. Our objective here is to get to an ABA file. So quickly, how do we do it? Payments, create vendor payment. And I can now see my vendors that have bills due. So I would clean up these columns, and I would, it goes red per line if it's overdue, and I can just highlight each of these lines and say create a payment. But what it's going to do is combine the 4 together into one payment. We're paying it out of the NAB General, same bank account. We hit OK. And now what we've got is we've got an amount total of 35. It's totaled it up. If I hit apply entries, you can see the invoices that it's applied against and for what amount. And our process that we flow through here, what I would normally do is personalize. I would go into related payments and drag up send remittance up here. Okay. And then I'd move over post. So I like to move it. So you can just click and drag that sucker. So what we've got here is create an EFT file, send the remittance, post the payment batch. So what we teach our clients to do is first things first is you prepare the sheet, you then create the batch, and we'll call this EFT test, and we hit OK. And just like that, you get an EFT ABA file. So if I was to open up this in a notepad, let's see if I can open with text editor. There you go. And that looks like an ABA file just there. So the configuration of it comes down to how the extension's set up for your business, but that's as simple as it is. We create an, now if I tried to cancel this payment, now that I've created an EFT file, if I try to delete it, it's going to throw an error. You can't delete it because a payment batch is exported. So for this reason, when we've started, you'll normally cancel the payment if you want to go make edits. But now we've done that, we would send remittance advice via email. Okay, prompt for settings, and it's going to prop open with the system default for sending a payment remittance. Now, and it's just got a PDF file there as a remittance advice. Now we're going to go through templates later, and I'm going to show you how we do that. But by default, so it's downloaded there. Let me just hide that. All of your report layouts is what we're going to cover in our next video. We're going to talk about the reporting, loading an extension, and making them all look beautiful very quickly, because our whole objective here is Business Central up and running in a week, minimal effort. Okay, so but for the purpose of this report, there's the report selection for purchases, and in here I've actually had to come in and configure the vendor remittance and put report ID 399 there, because that's a report already created in the system. I had to map that because otherwise, if you click send remittance advice in your demo, if you're following what I'm doing, it will fail. So I've gone and done that, and the remittance is done. And so now that's done, I can preview this posting and it should go through beautifully, which it did. And so we're just going to post that now, and payment's done. So the idea is that as we go through the system, we have all of our invoices processed. The AP team will then go through and select what's to be paid. We will then create the ABA file, upload to the bank, validate it, approve it in the bank, send remittance advice, post the transaction. I don't like raising a transaction and posting it before the banking side has been done. I've seen many clients come back and go, oh, we went to pay too much, didn't have the money in the bank, or we had this reason or that reason, and then we're reversing transactions. And you've got to remember, Business Central is not a system you want to be reversing stuff in. It's a pain to do it that way, because it's, when you post it, it's like concrete. So what we've got here, if we go into it, go back to our chart of accounts, I'm going to go filter net change, and so we can see here that all of these accounts are now moving. So the COGS, we've purchased $7,000 worth of COGS this week. We've got we've purchased assets, we've purchased inventory, we've got inventory that's sitting here in inventory, and so your whole P&L is working. And which is great. We can see we've got a total cost of $2,000, and the revenue of, which is always negative, is 3,400. So effectively we're at a $1,200 net profit between the two, which is cool. And we've got a negative amount in the bank. So if we go into our cash bank accounts, we can now see all of these transactions. Okay, and talking about bank reconciliation, we said that we would show you the principles of bank rec. So I'm going to go in and click bank reconciliation. And in here, what you're going to find is it's pulled out on the right hand side all of the transactions in the bank ledger. Okay, now on the left side we've gone and fabricated this as if it's a bank statement, so depending on your bank feed, or you go in and you import your statement straight off your bank the way it export import, drag drop, and you get yourself a statement. There's a couple of things you can do. You could try the ChatGPT reconciliation. Okay, the alternative you've got is you can go match automatically within 2 days of grace and hit OK, and we get ourselves a 7 out of 7 fully matched and balanced. There's no difference outstanding, which is exactly what we're expecting. And we can turn around and take this statement, post, and run a test report. And let's just see what that looks like. And here you can see that it's got the applied entries, everything balances, and there's a 0 difference outstanding, which gives you a closing balance, which is what we wanted. All right. So the objective, and then obviously you can work through posting that. So the concept is that for every day that you've got a statement here, you're going to get a statement line, or we change that it comes in weekly, monthly for your statement. So you've got to choose that. There's data feed services that can do that, but that's how your bank rec kind of works within Business Central, which is pretty cool. So from an AP perspective, you also have some new features that are coming out. For example, well, it's not really new. It's been around a while, but it's being developed further by Microsoft, especially in V27. You've got what we refer to as a document sending profile just here. And so what does that mean? It means that when we send off our purchase documents to our supplier, we can include a file, right? And it can turn around and include effectively, so let's go disk, PDF and electronic document, email, PDF and yes, prompt for settings. Cool, awesome. And so what we're talking about here in the format that we're wanting and what we're wanting to provide is a PDF and then an XML file, and it emails it to the supplier when we send them the PO or a purchase invoice or a payment. It works with shipments, with sales, sales invoices, sales orders. And so the idea with it is this is the new e-document standard that the government is moving all businesses to, that businesses will receive and process e-documents in the future, which is what is coming and being pushed on business within Australia. Over the coming year, you're going to see a lot more about this. From an AP perspective, there's also the different roles that are specific about AP. We have what we call OCR, which is your optical character recognition and scanning of documents. These are all things we can talk to you about as your partner. Microsoft does support it, but we do use extensions to make that thrive and really easy for you. And yeah, I think from a purchasing perspective, I'm pretty much done on what I would show you was a quick out of the box to get up and running. But as you can see, as you do your demo, keep watching the chart of accounts and see what keeps changing on you, and make sure you stay on top of that so you understand and see how the process works, which is great. And we encourage all of our customers, we don't expect you to do this without a partner. What we expect to burst the bubble of is it doesn't need to be that difficult. We can do it. We can move quicker. You need to turn around. If you lean in and you want to learn it, there's a heap of depth, but it is very possible to pull things together quickly. So I'm wrapping up here, and in our next video, we're going to now focus on the look and feel of the output documents, because currently these PDFs suck. Like, they're pretty ugly. You gotta, the pick list, I've now deleted it, but that payment remittance advice is pretty ugly. We're going to make them look pretty, okay? And we're going to do that in our next video within 30 minutes. You're going to see what we can do. And then the next video after that, we're going to talk about, all right, now let's package this up, migrate your data, and get you into a live position. So good.